So welcome back to another episode, and today is a very interesting episode for me. It's kind of surreal. It is kind of surreal. I dug this outfit out of a box, and this is something that I wore 10 years ago in a certain something that I made. I made a movie. I made a Happy Console Gamer movie for the show, and I released it 10 years ago on YouTube for free. I did, and I'm going to talk about this entire experience, what it was like back then, coming up with this idea for this movie and all that. A lot of you out there will be like, you made a movie? You made a Happy Console Gamer movie and put it on YouTube? It's like, yes, I did. And a lot of you have been with me since the beginning, and you know the journey. And I always talk about the passage of time on the show. I'm always talking about that, like, I can't believe it's been 25 years that game was released. Where a lot of you out there I know you'll be nostalgic a little bit as well, that the movie that I made is 10 years ago. It was released September 30th, 2012. It's a few days ago for me now. And yeah, I really wanted to go in depth of looking back on this experience and what it was like, because it was a huge experience to take on, and I didn't know what I was taking on. I didn't know how hard it would be and how much it would push me to my limits. And it pushed me to my limits. And will I ever make a movie again? No, not at all. And what's fascinating is why I did it. And we have to go back to July 2009. I was celebrating a monumentous thing on YouTube. I had gotten 5,000 subscribers. 5,000 people had subscribed to the show. I think the show had been out for about a year at that point, a little less than a year. And so I was thrilled. I couldn't believe it. I think my big goal was to get like 10,000 subscribers would be the ceiling. So to get 5,000 was like, oh my God, this is incredible. And I did something. Back then, a lot of YouTubers were releasing episodes of their show on DVD. And I didn't feel that my show would go that way. And I didn't think it should be released that way, because I thought, why put something on DVD like that when you can go into YouTube and see it for free? I didn't understand the reasoning behind it. I couldn't justify it. But having 5,000 subscribers, and a lot of people nowadays will be like, oh, 5,000 subscribers isn't a lot. Listen to me, I'm at 285,000 subscribers. 5,000 subscribers is a lot. And I was very thankful to have that. Now I'm very thankful to have that then. I was so blown away. And I'd had something for the first time I'd never had, a small audience where I could produce things for and, create content for him. I'm meaning like doing videos and little skits and things. These are things I did in film school. These are things I messed around with all of the time. So to get the idea that I have an audience that I can make things for was incredible. I'm like, here we go. And let me say, some other people might have just had a cake for their 5,000 subscriber video. I decided to do something monumentally ridiculous. And that is, I wanted to make a movie for the show, that kind of encapsulated all of the people on the show that have been on it, and move it forward and do something kind of big in scope and take it out of the realm of this. That's what I wanted to do, but I wanted to keep it close to the show. I didn't want to change the characters too much at all in any regard like that. So what was so crazy about this movie was, there was one night in like 2008 where all of a sudden I was sitting around, I had finished dinner or something like that, and I was having a beer, and all of a sudden the entire movie flashed into my head. The entire movie. I saw the whole thing. It's almost like I've been working my whole life into doing something like this. So when I'd be driving, I'd be like, oh, that'd be neat for a scene of this, and that'd be neat for a scene of this, and I was dreaming about all this stuff. I was dreaming all the time. And so all of a sudden, it was like, I can make a movie. I have an idea for a movie. And I'm like, the Happy Console Gamer movie. And it was like, it'll be going after the greatest game ever made. That's what the idea of it will be. And there'll be all these assassins, these bad guys trying to get it. I'm trying to get it. And I thought, this is fun. This is exciting. And so I basically got in front of the camera, and I don't have the tape anymore because it was on tape back then. And I recorded the entire movie. I spoke the whole movie out so I could remember it later, so I wouldn't kind of forget anything. And I really liked the idea of it. I thought, this is good. I think I can work with this. Now, my original idea was this. That the movie was going to be shot in one summer. I thought, that's doable. That's doable. Now, I'm working full time. I'm doing the show once a week. I'm with Kim. We moved in together. We were planning on getting married, so we're organizing our marriage. It was a very, very busy time. And I'm going to get back to that in a little bit for sure, of how busy it is and how much I was like, oh my God, what have I got myself into? This has like gone kind of ridiculous. But all of a sudden, I'm like, okay, let's start this movie. Let's start this movie. And I thought it was going to be easy. I get this, I'm shooting it all from my brain at this point. And I'm like, no, this can't work. So the great thing is, with Kim living with me at that point, we sat down and we wrote the Happy Console Gamer movie. Here's the script for it. Here's the entire thing, right? So how this worked is I just ranted and raved and walked around the house and say, okay, this is this scene. And Kim's a fast typer, so she was typing it all up for me. And that's the only way I could have had a script. Because I didn't feel like handwriting it. I'm not lazy. My ideas were like shooting like crazy, but it's just taking those ideas and put them to the page. Kim was able to grab it and to put it into a script. And so then I had a script, and then I could make a script and give it to other people. That really helped out a lot. And so I could always carry this around. I'm like, okay, we're shooting this scene and all that. And I storyboarded everything out and stuff like that. And so I started talking to everybody to get them into making this movie. And I really underestimated what I was taking on. I thought it was something that was going to be easy. I thought, oh, I can easily do this stuff. I've done skits for the show already. It won't be a problem. I didn't realize that not only had I written a script, I was full on in the script. I was like one of the main characters in the script. I brought Rob in there as well to take some of the slack off me. And so Rob was in there, and I started flavoring with everybody else, but I'm like, oh my God, I'm in here, I'm directing, I'm editing, I'm setting up the camera, and that's what I'm gonna get to. I decided to do this movie for free for my audience. And still to this day, I think it's the best thing that I've ever done on the channel that way. Yeah, and let me say, I'm not knocking anybody who has a movie idea and they go through Indiegogo or Kickstarter or anything like that. Good for them. But for me, I didn't want that kind of pressure. I knew if I started something like that and there was a lot of money on me, that it would kind of ruin the creative process. And I was in this really kind of cool creative process with everything, and I just wanted to have a good time. And I didn't want it to be about the money, right? So my idea was, I came back onto YouTube and I said, yeah, you know what? This movie's gonna be for free, but if for anybody's interested, I'll release a DVD and have extras on it and stuff like that. I'll do that later, after the movie. I couldn't even wrap my head around doing that. I hadn't even really started the movie. I'd started it, but not anywhere. So every single day I started to shoot some stuff, and all of a sudden I realized how impossible it was when you have no money. All the money was everything that I invested. I had my camera, I had, all the lighting and all the stuff and the microphones and all the props and everything. I mean, we made everything in this movie. Like, look at this. So here is the Relics machine. It's dusty. I know, I just grabbed it out of this box. Here's the main machine in the game, in the movie. This is the main system that played the greatest video game ever made. And me and my friend DJ made this. And I'm going to get into DJ in a second here. And look at this. We made all these games that did not exist. All of these games. We got Codename Thunderbeam right here. Look at this. And we even aged them to make them look like old Sega Master System games. Pretty cool stuff. Cave Driller. Right, look at this. It's so cool. All part of the Relic system, right? And we got The Ruffian and Tears of Neptune, all drawn beautifully by my friend Hanzo. Right? Hanzo is an incredible artist. And the games themselves were made by my friend Dave Carter. I can't believe it. He made all of these games in like an RPG, not an RPG, like a shooter maker at the time. He was able to make these games, and how remarkable of a thing. And I still can't believe that we were able to pull all of this stuff off. It's, all these people were working together to do this stuff. It was amazing. So in the beginning of the movie, it was hell on earth. And I was like, oh my God. And I went into my local video game store at the time, Game Deals, and I walked in there, and I was just like, oh, I was just at the beginning of this movie, and I was just like, oh my God. And I bumped into this guy, and his name is DJ. And he's somebody who actually watched the show. And he's like, hey, I'm going to buy this game. I think he had a copy of Ease on the Sega Master System. And he's like, I'm going to buy this because you recommended it on the show. I said, hey, that's a good idea. So it's a good game. It's classic. And then he's like, so what are you up to? I said, oh, I'm working on this movie. And he's like, oh yeah, I saw you announce that. He's like, do you need any help on it? And I'm like, well, actually, yeah, I do. I need a lot of help on it. And he's like, you know what? He goes, I'd love to help out in the movie. I'll help out in everything. He's like, I'll do anything that you need done in the movie. I'm like, what, really? I said, well, nobody's getting paid for this. I said, this is like a free thing. He said, oh no, I'd love to be a part of it. And you know, DJ's in the movie. He's the guy who gets shot in Game Deals. He's like stealing a game and he gets shot. And I just want to give a big props to DJ. Especially, I phoned him up yesterday. And I'm not getting emotional, but the movie would never have gotten done the way it did without DJ's help. DJ helped so much. He came out for every shoot that we did, was so enthusiastic, was so into everything, was so helpful, and setting up cameras with me, like, hey, can you do this, and hey, can you do that? He was absolutely awesome, and he's somebody behind the scenes that really was the backbone of this movie getting made, and I can never thank him enough. And we sat on the phone the other day and reminisced and about what an experience it was. And the movie, when I look back now, I've got those rose colored tint on the passing. Yeah, that was a fun time, and it was. It was. It was like a bunch of kids getting together, shooting stuff, having fun, experimenting. I mean, none of us had shot a movie. I'd never shot a movie quite like this. And it was interesting, the collaboration of everybody. I remember at one point working on the movie, and I had different scenes shot all over the place, and I had hard drives full of stuff. And I had this terrifying moment. I'm like, what if this movie comes together and none of it makes any sense? Like, I've never sequentially told a story. I've done skits, like a 5 to 10 minute skit, but not an entire hour plus thing. And I remember getting really nervous going, what if I start assembling the pieces and none of it makes sense? What if people don't understand, they feel disjointed from everything? And oh my God, I remember really, really worrying about that, going, maybe it's gone too far. Maybe it's gone too far. And I reached a point, I think it was about halfway through, and I gotta say this, it took me 3 years to make the movie. From concept to finish in 2012, releasing it onto YouTube. There was some times, I think it was like halfway to nearly 75%, I was ready to give up. I honestly was ready to say, I've had enough. I can't do this. I can't, because I'd be trying to organize about 5 people to get together, and then 4 of them could make it, but I couldn't get the last person, so I'd have to cancel the whole thing, because I needed all of them there. It started to overwhelm me, and it became my living nightmare. I'd taken something on that was supposed to be fun, something I could give to the audience, and it became a personal nightmare, something I could not escape. And there was a point when I was like, maybe what I'll do is I'll make it into an episode of the show where I talk about a fictitious summer that happened when I found the greatest video game ever made. And I'm like, no, John, that's cheaping out. And I was just going to show flashbacks of all the stuff I'd shot, but I'm like, no, that's cheap. Don't do it. We're there. Let's keep going. And so I kept going. And I must admit, was there a lot of things I'd like to do better in this movie? Of course. There was sometimes I could only get 1 or 2 takes on a given line. We could never get back to that same location to shoot. I remember, like, basically being in a warehouse for the end of the movie, and I shot the entire warehouse scene in an afternoon. It was impossible what I did, and we could never get any more takes on it. So what I got was what I got, and some of the takes were there, all the actors was what I got, and some people couldn't get their lines right. So things were going wrong, and time was going on. I remember the manager of this warehouse going, like, I gotta go. And I remember paying him, like, here's $40. Can we just do a little? I didn't have any money. I was like, please, let us do it last bit. It was such a homegrown movie. And that's what I want to say. You know, you can watch this movie and you can say, this movie's crap. And you know what? I'll shake your hand and say, you know what? You're totally entitled to your opinion. You know what? I mean, some of the acting in the movie is not good. You know, some of the lighting in the movie is not the best. I mean, some of the effects, they're fun, right? But the one thing I will say about my movie, the one thing I'll say is that I started something and I finished it and I accomplished that. And it's a huge accomplishment for me. Something I still look back on and I'm very proud that I finished it. Now, the other thing, you can say whatever you want about the movie. You can say whatever you want about it. But the one thing you can't say is this. You can't say that it didn't have heart. Because that's the one thing this movie had more than anything from myself and for everybody who was in the movie, for everybody who contributed to it, that this movie had a soul. It did. And would I have loved to go back and remake this movie with a budget? Absolutely. I'd hire some different actors to play me and play Rob and all the other people that were in this movie. Because there's some really fun actors in this movie, but I would love to do this as a big movie. I mean, it could definitely be done. And with what I'd learned from that movie, I mean, it was extraordinary. I remember I was writing a Happy Console Gamer, the movie too, right afterwards, and it was big and it was so cool. It was so cool. And I tied everything together and it was like, that's kind of always the way I've been. I've ever done comic books in the past. The first comic book is good. It's just kind of laying the foundation, but the second and third get really good because I start building on what I have and I start having a lot of fun. You know, the experience in looking back on 10 years of doing the Happy Console Gamer movie now is, I'm glad I made it. It's one of those things I look back on so fondly as a certain time period in my life, and I was very happy to get the movie done. And I remember after I got the movie done, I was like, I'm never taking on a project like that ever again. And I must admit, it kicked the stuffing out of me after that. I don't think I could have ever taken on a huge project like that ever again, not the same way. I gave everything I had with everything that I could have and give into that movie to make it the way it was. And I'm really proud of it, and I'm really proud of a lot of the scenes. And you know what? There's some genuinely funny moments in it. I watched the movie, and it's a little bit different. I watched the movie, and I laugh at times. And as much as I laugh now, I get some tears. And you know where I get the tears from? Is the scientist in the movie. His name is Philip Blackburn. In reality, he's my hair cutter. He cut my hair for nearly 14 years. I mean, it was unbelievable. A really great friend of mine, and I cast him in the movie to play the scientist, and he did a good job and all of that. But there's something that's really haunting to me now in looking back at the movie all these years later, is that Philip died about 1.5 to 2 years ago now. It was just when my daughter was born. And he died of cancer, and he died way too early. He died at like 56 years old. And it was a shock, and it really hit me really hard. Still to this day, I'm really crushed about it. And Philip came in, and it's so surreal to see Philip in the movie. And what's more surreal than anything is that it's so weird. It's so strange. I acted Philip's death scene in the movie. You know, it's in the movie, like the scientist dies in the movie. And I had this death scene with him. And now it's so weird that he's passed away that I have my moment with him in this movie is with him passing away. It's so weird. It's so weird. I mean, I know, but I'm really happy that he is in the movie, that I do have that moment. And he's kind of immortalized in that movie with me at that time. And I think that's what I do like about the movie. It's a time capsule of a certain time. I mean, pulling out this jacket today, something I haven't worn in 10 years, the Sega Gaga, logo on the shirt. It's just so surreal. And I thought I'd have a look at some things in the movie. Oh my God, I dug this out. The pink horsey shirt. For anybody who knows the movie, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And yeah, look at some of the other games that we made. Look at this. Here's Pink Horsey the game. That's just silliness. I think my friend Dave Carter did that. It's really funny. It didn't ever have a backing. It just had the cover there. And Equilibrio, the Misadventures of Knight and Baby, done by Hanzo. Look at that. A Genesis Mega Drive game that never existed. Look at that with all we did everything on here to age it and all that. Fictitious games for fictitious me and all of that. It's crazy that I was able to dig a lot of this stuff up. And then these are the drawings that I would do, like for one of the assassins, I draw him all out and all that. It's just ridiculous. It's called the Bullet Machine Bad Guy. Oh yeah, this is like some of the things that I wanted to do, the speakers and all that. Crazy. And then, here we go. Here's the DVD that was released back then after the movie. We're sold out now. It's long out of print, which is kind of ridiculous. And you know what's so crazy? All the extras that are on the DVD, I cannot find them on any hard drive now. I don't know where they are. So I think on the DVD is the only place to find them. And I really went in depth in the making of the movie then and showing behind the scenes stuff, because I had all the stuff on tape. I don't have that camera anymore with all those tapes to bring that stuff in. So yeah, I mean, it's crazy that it's been 10 years. Can you believe it's been 10 years since the Happy Console Gamer movie? And yeah, it was a pure, a thing of passion for me, a labor of passion. And I'm so happy that I was able to finish it and to release it. And you know what? A lot of people, really like the movie, and a lot of people are super nostalgic about the movie. And here's the thing. If I didn't do anything, nothing would have happened. But I released the movie, and guess what? It got seen 130,000 times. When I was a younger guy, I couldn't have imagined making anything to be seen 50 times, never mind, 500 times, 5,000 times, 50,000 times, 130,000 times. So the Happy Console Gamer movie, for me, looking back, is a raving success. If people like the movie or not, or however they take it, it's a movie that I decided to take on to do for the audience, to entertain you guys. That's why I did it. That's why I did it. I didn't realize I would get myself in up Esses Creek, without a paddle. That's for sure, because that's where I was. And man, I tell you, if you want to see what the Happy Console Gamer movie 2 would have been, check out one of the Halloween specials where it was me versus Rob Man. That whole thing was actually from the second movie. And my friend Kyle did all the animation and stuff of that's what it would have looked like. And that's what things would have looked like with a budget and all of that. Will I ever go back to anything like this? No, not at all. I'll do a little skit here and there once in a while and all that, but I'll live in the beautiful memories of the Happy Console Gamer when I came up with the idea in July 2009 when I announced it to the audience, and September 30th, 2012 when I released the movie to the audience. And I remember, I'll say my last bit on this. The movie I released it in 720p, but I have the 1080p version. What was so crazy about it was I couldn't upload it. My internet wasn't strong enough back 10 years ago. So it kept crashing, uploading to YouTube. It was taking like 2 hours. It'd get down to the last 15 minutes of upload and it'd crash. I know, things have worked out obviously online a lot more since then. I had to go to a friend of mine down the road who had a really strong internet connection, and I had to upload it through that to get it online. I remember racing to the last minute because I said, this date the movie will be released. And I remember even scrambling to the last second to get it done and all of that. And I tell you, what a huge weight off my shoulders when that was released. And it was nervy. I mean, releasing something that you worked on for so long, I didn't know what the reaction was going to be. And I was quite nervous about it. Oh my God, everybody's going to hate my guts when they see this movie. And it wasn't that case. I got so much love. And I was like so thrilled. And I'm like, yeah, I definitely heard from some friends of mine behind the scenes that they didn't like the movie and things like that. I heard from through friends, and I was fine with that. It didn't bother me. I was like, you know what? I released something that I wanted to release, and I did it my way. And I made a movie. It was always a dream of mine of something to do, and I did it. If I didn't have a budget, I did everything I did with my bare hands and my friends' help. And we did something that we would have done back in high school, but we had a little bit more know-how on how to do things and all of that. So, guys, I just wanted to come in and talk about the 10-year anniversary of the Happy Console Gamer movie. If you haven't seen it, go give it a small watch. Try to get past the first 10 minutes. Maybe it'll catch you and all that. But it's super nostalgic to me now, and I know it is for a lot of you out there. So anyways, guys, until next time.